Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Asher Agency, a full-service marketing agency with offices in Indiana, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. For nearly 50 years, Asher has helped our clients tell their stories, reach customers and prospects, and stand out from the crowd. To learn more about how we can help your company, visit asheragency.com or contact us at hello@asheragency.com. My guest is Katie Burnworth. Katie, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So you have to rush off to an event. Is it basketball? Did I hear that right?
Football.
Football. Okay. And 13 and 11. Is that correct? So what are your kids into other than football?
Sports.
Yeah. All sports?
Yes. Both basketball.
Okay.
So we're doing school basketball and AAU basketball.
All right.
And then my son plays football and my daughter plays soccer.
Wow.
So we are a sports family.
Were they blessed with your height for basketball?
My daughter is. So she's 13 and she is literally like a quarter of an inch shorter than me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then my son's tiny. They're
Is he really?
16 months apart and they look like they're like 4 years apart.
And he'll probably at some point shoot
I sure
up.
hope so.
Yeah. Well, keep working towards that college scholarship on the basketball side.
Yes, that's
good stuff.
That's what I played. So it's very fun to see them enjoying the sport that I love.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming back to Asher.
I know.
Because this
it's
is
so
where
good
you
to
and
be
I
back.
met a million years ago.
Yes.
When did you leave Asher?
So I left in 2008.
Wow. So that was 15 years ago.
Yes.
And I don't think you and I have had a substantive conversation in the 15 years since.
I don't believe we have.
Time flies. All right.
It does.
So let's bring everyone up to speed by starting at the beginning. So
Yes.
you grew up in Fort Wayne?
I did.
And where did you go to college? Ball State?
I was Ball State, yep.
Okay. So tell me, what were you thinking about when you're in college career-wise? What do you think you want to do, and then what do you actually do?
Okay, so I was an athlete, played
Yeah.
basketball,
Yeah.
loved just being around sports, and thought, maybe I'll go into some sort of like exercise science and deal with athletes and injuries.
Yeah.
And then looked at what that course load looked like and
Yeah.
was like, I don't really know if this looks like something that would really interest
Yeah.
me. So I actually went into Ball State undecided.
Mm-hmm.
So really focused that freshman year on getting those core classes out of the way to see kind of what I liked, to see like what would I maybe want to go into. And I remembered then picking out courses for my sophomore year and sitting down with my advisor, and she's like, what are you thinking? What do you really want to do? And I was like, I really want to dress up and nice like business attire and give presentations.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what did that mean to me? I didn't know what it meant to me.
It is,
right?
It is a job, but it's not a specific job.
It's not a specific job.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, let's put you into like some business courses and see what you like and what you're good at. And then, so in starting those business courses, I soon realized I didn't really love accounting and econ, but I loved communications.
Yeah.
And then went into the journalism program at Ball State in PR.
Yeah.
So a lot of forward-facing, which I love. I love people.
Yeah.
I was a really good writer. I won an award there for writing my junior year.
Okay.
And then, so I ended up with a PR major and a communications minor.
Okay.
And just did really well with that and like found my place in that throughout.
Yeah,
just
which is kind
different
of
courses.
unusual because a lot of people don't end up doing what they studied in college. So you actually started at Asher as an intern.
I did.
Was that after you graduated, or was it when you were still at Ball State?
So it was kind of like I had to have the internship to graduate.
Okay.
So I did 4 years. I didn't declare my major till I was actually a junior.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And still got everything done in that 4 years besides my internship, and then interned here that summer, and like technically then that was done. It was kind of like a weird, kind of grandfathered that in. And then got hired on as an account executive after my internship.
So, and that was, what year was that?
So that would have been 2002.
Okay, because I started in 2004, so you were well established here by the time I started. So what was Asher like in 2002? What are your memories of Asher back from?
Oh my gosh, all
21
my
years
memories
ago?
of Asher, like when someone's like describe Asher, I'd be like, it was such a fun job. It was a very fun atmosphere, great group of people. I worked on the subway account, so being young and right out of college felt really proud of that, to be
one of the biggest brands in the world.
Biggest brands of the world at this big agency in town, and known statewide and nationwide, especially with Subway brands. So, yeah, I would say it was fun. I worked with great people, and it's so fun now to be coming kind of back in the world that I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
And see a lot of the same faces. So
was it your experience as a young person that you had a lot of like autonomy? Like that there was not a lot of micromanagement?
Oh, none.
And that kind of scared me when I started here because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they're letting me do it.
Yes.
And it all worked out.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit scary. I think the opposite, micromanagement, would have been more scary in the long run. But
right.
Yeah.
So I think of what that team looked like. We were all in our 20s working on this huge brand. Jill was media buying. I think she's a little older than I am. So we had her expertise. But as far as like the account team, we're all pretty young.
Yeah, because it was you, Hillary, Mike Krause. Yeah.
Kate Verag came
all in
on
your
board.
20s.
Yeah, we're all in our 20s.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So we were really all a lot of smart 20-year-olds. If you look at like Kate and I have kept in touch. She's doing really well. Mike, like I feel like we all, having started here really gave us like a good, great stepping stones for our careers moving forward.
Yeah. So you're here for about
6 years.
6 years. And then where do you go from there?
So I went to Domino's Pizza Corporate.
Yeah.
So I really just I loved working here. I loved the big brand and thought, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
I was 28 and thought, what does this look like growth-wise for me? And really wanted to just kind of get on the corporate side of things.
Yeah.
So Domino's at that point was hiring for a field marketing team. So they had been agency-based, and so this was a new position.
Yep.
And they hired a lot of those agency folks. I was the first one actually brought in from the outside.
Yeah.
And then had a territory. So I worked from home, which was really hard for me at first, being a people person and being in a lively agency with all.
That is not common in those days.
No.
Yeah.
It was not common.
Yeah.
And pluses and minuses, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That, I think it was, it definitely was hard and a challenge. And then I traveled a ton.
Yeah.
So Chicago was kind of my territory.
Okay.
And then that evolved.
Yeah, but you were familiar with the world of food, having worked with Subway, so you didn't come in completely cold. Yeah.
And really, I worked at Zesto's ice cream.
Yeah.
All through high school and college. So it's like I had 9 years of food experience from like more of the operational side of the business and then went into...
Was that an accident, or did you say, this is where I want to be? I want to be on the food side?
No.
Yeah.
I think it was like an accident, like coming here as an intern, I didn't know what that looked like. So.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like me, where probably I've spent the most hours in 19 years is higher ed. And when I started here, I had no idea how to market a college. And Tim Borney one day took me under his wing and said, follow me, we're going to Ivy Tech.
And you did.
The rest is history, Yeah. So you were with Domino's for 14 years.
I was.
And now you're still in the wonderful world of food at Wings, etc.
I am.
I was super excited when Wings started working with Asher because I love Wings.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Oh, I know. And it was an easy brand to want to work for because I had been a customer of theirs for years.
Yeah.
Living out north, we'd go to the DuPont Road location. Loved the wings. The kids loved it. I've spent a lot of money on that claw machine out there and have a lot of fun little stuffed animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my role kind of, Domino's did a restructuring last summer.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like time to find something new. And at that point it was like, I've been in food for 20 years. At that point, it was almost exactly 20 years.
Yeah.
And, I love food. I loved working with franchisees. That was a big part of my role at Subway and Domino's was like running co-op boards and working with franchisees on local marketing plans and thought, where can I find a job around Fort Wayne? When I really started looking, it was, oh, you have this great resume, 20 years of like huge brand food. Will you move? And
it's rare that you're going to find a franchise whose headquarters is
in
here.
Fort Wayne.
So that's super lucky that you ended up where you are in some respects. Because your kids are young enough, you want to be around.
I do.
You don't want to be traveling all the time.
No.
So tell us about your role at Wings and tell us about the business writ large, because I had a misconception that it was a Midwest, a group of Midwest franchises, but it's bigger than that. So tell us a little bit about the business and your role at the business.
So I'm the vice president of marketing and Wings, et cetera. That is the biggest misconception is that it might just be only here, but really we have 79 locations in 13 states and are growing.
Yeah.
So really lucky to have found headquarters here, but yeah.
Was it founded here? Was the first?
Mishawaka.
Mishawaka, okay, yeah.
So 1994 by Jim Weaver. He then franchised 10 years later.
Yeah.
Some of those owners are still in place
at
Wings, et cetera. So the brand's growing. We have a new location coming up here in the next month.
Right off 14,
Illinois Road.
Correct? Yeah. Right by, I'm in some respects, I'm like, I used to live right down the street from there, and I would have been able to walk there. So, but I can walk to the one on Maysville now, so it's great.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, Vice President of Marketing, what does your team look like? The folks who you're working with most often?
So the team has changed a lot. So today is my 1-year anniversary, actually.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a whirlwind. So came in and there were a team of 4 people underneath me.
Uh-huh.
And that's soon going to be 1 and a new gal. So we had some folks leave.
Yep.
We just hired someone. So now we're really kind of down to, we have a CMO, Dave Ponce.
Yeah.
Brilliant man. He is remote. I'm here kind of running the team at the corporate office. And then we have a marketing manager. And then we just hired a graphic designer. So what we lost in the last year was a media buyer and PR. So that's kind of what led us initially to working with Asher, was kind of me coming from this big brand, used to these ginormous media budgets and seeing kind of what Wings had been doing and looking at it as like, oh, there's an opportunity to make this a little bit better than what we were doing, and kind of working through that. And we had someone leave the team, and it's really like, okay, how do we do, like, what does the next step look like? And I was like, I would love to have a chance to chat with the folks at Asher. I really thought back through what it was like here with Subway. And Jill Brown is so renowned for her ability to negotiate fantastic
for sure.
buys. And she has awards for what she does. And she just came to my mind. And obviously, Kara and I had worked together, I think, for maybe about 2 years before I left.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a team that knows the franchise world.
Yes.
Not to toot Asher's own horn, but this is the Asher podcast, so we could do that.
Yes.
But Jill's been doing what she's doing for 30 years.
Right.
Is, as knowledgeable as anybody ever gets on the traditional media side, and has the relationships to push where you need to push, but also gets opportunities often first because people want to keep her happy. So, yeah. So, well, we're really glad you did that. It's been super fun to see you back in the building.
Yeah.
So tell me, there's a lot of competition in the space you're in, ton of competition. So what do you think are the biggest points of differentiation for Wings? What makes it special? What makes it different from your perspective?
So first thing that comes to mind is the award-winning wings themselves. So we have much larger wings than a lot of folks that are fantastic. We actually, coming from the South Bend area, we call it kind of Michiana, they just won for the 30th year Best Wings.
Oh, wow.
So that's, where the brand comes from. So we're really known for that. And then it's also a laid back atmosphere, really just kind of come as you are, come in, get great wings, get a beer.
Yeah.
It's family friendly. We've got lots of sports on TVs as well. So
yeah. Well, and one thing that I've noticed is consistency, because I've been to Maysville, I've been to the one in Columbia City, the one in Warsaw, one of the ones in Warsaw, I believe.
Yeah.
Probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And the people are different, but it's the same experience in terms of consistency. The servers are friendly. It looks the same, so it feels good. You're like, okay, this is new, but it feels consistent with what I've experienced elsewhere. And you don't always get that in franchise businesses. So in today's environment, obviously, it's super difficult to get in front of customers and prospects.
Yes.
What are some of the things you're spending a year in most of your time on to try to win market share, to get traffic your way? What are some of the things you're spending most of your time and attention on?
So I guess our plans are varying based on the budget and the co-ops. I kind of manage the co-ops nationally. We just do some things more in select timeframes of the year. But we're really looking at it like holistically from the marketing side as far as, can we afford TV in this area? And then we've got radio and billboards and Facebook and Instagram in all areas. Some areas more have like paid search and Google display. So I think it's just making sure we're hitting all those big touch points from the outbound media.
Yep.
And then one of the big projects we're working on that's super exciting is the launch of an app and a rewards program.
Okay. So have you ever had a rewards program?
No.
Prior? Okay.
So that's been a big project that we've been working on this year. It should roll out by year end. We're looking to do some pilot testing here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But it's like that for every dollar spent, you get a point. For every point earned, you get a reward based on, how many points you have in your bank. So
Awesome. Well, I am all over that when it launches. Yeah. All right. So when you look at that media mix, what are some of the biggest markets that you're in where you might not be able to be dominant in TV and you have to do things differently? Because again, I think people who are local, they know the local businesses, but they don't know the scope of it. So what are some of the bigger markets you're in?
So we have the most concentration of stores in Indy, but Indy's such a big market that it doesn't seem like we're all that big.
Yeah.
So I would say our most highest concentration would be in the South Bend market, and then Fort Wayne. So that's kind of where I was talking about. Those budgets vary a little bit just based on media costs in those areas and how much is in the budget. But we do have a lot of franchisees that are kind of more on their own, right? We have a store in Topeka, Kansas, and for them, it's like, what does that look like when they don't have 10 other stores?
And that's one unit in that market.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So for that franchisee, we look at doing digital. That makes sense, and you can really kind of target that around their restaurant and get a billboard that's close by. A lot of what we do too is really, a lot of our best franchisees, like any brand, if you're kind of the mayor of your own town in your own area, your sales are going to be higher. So focusing a lot on high school sports and different things within the community as well. And we have an email program, so that goes out.
So you give them a playbook, but you're flexible in terms of how they execute because every market's a little different.
And what makes sense. And some markets can buy radio in a small rural town. It's big cities, you can't afford it and it doesn't make sense. Right? So it definitely varies by location on what makes sense.
Yeah. So what has been in this experience over the past year, how much of it has been things you're familiar with and comfortable with because you've worked in food, and how much of it has been brand new and scary and all those things?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the thing that I knew enough of, so my role at Domino's was a field marketing manager and marketing manager. So you knew about everything because here the loyalty team's coming with you to this, the digital. So you knew enough to relay that to franchisees and a group. But what I never had access to or really saw was the back end of all the programmings of how are we responding to reviews? How do we actually get a press release sent out to the media? How do you buy a Facebook ad? So I went through the Meta certified training this spring.
I saw that on LinkedIn.
To learn that.
I don't know if I liked it, but I saw it.
Yeah, I did. So that was something I was doing to continue to grow.
So you have to be more in the weeds a little bit.
I'm learning a little bit more about that, and then also kind of like a refresher on all of the media. With our media buyer leaving, I kind of really stepped into that role, and then worked with Jill as far as what does this look like?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and a big piece of that is just wading through all the options. One of the reasons, not this isn't an ad for Asher, but one of the reasons why sometimes it's better to outsource that is all the options. You don't have to comb through them and compare them. You have somebody who's going to do that, who has the tools to do that, and who can say to you, hey, I've looked at all the options. Here are the highest priorities.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was a difference, too, of coming from a brand like Domino's that had option, processes for processes, platforms for platforms. So you had so much data to then come to a brand that didn't have access to as much. That was something that was newer, a kind of a curve for me, which obviously I knew kind of going into that. A smaller brand, but also something that I feel really proud about making change in the last year for the co-ops. And happy to see that continue to move forward. We actually are in kind of final negotiations of making Asher our official agency of record. So this past few months, we've just been using them for media and strategy, but we're going to start to begin to use them more for PR and then franchise sales. So health of, the business is getting more franchisees in the door, getting more stores across the country. So getting some guidance from them with that as well. And then a little bit of creative. So continuing kind of to expand our partnership moving forward. So I'm really excited about that.
And we are too. And you worked with Jen too when you were here. Jen Roberts is now back as creative director.
Yes.
So yeah. Well, that's great. All right. Well, I'm going to pivot so I get you out of here on time to get you to your football game.
Oh, I've got time, but
All right. I'm going
to
pivot to some quick hit questions.
Okay.
So you've had a successful career. You've done a few different things, all within the food category, but still different. What have you taken away from that as your best career advice? Let's say you were talking to one of your kids and it was a day when they were actually listening to what you had to say. What would be the best advice you would give them about how to be successful and fulfilled in a career?
I think for me in that was really finding what my passion was, and talking to that guidance counselor back of like, oh, this is kind of what I like, but I'm not sure what that is yet because I was young and naive, right? And staying kind of true to that throughout my career. I'm such a people person and love that relationship side of things, but also have a really good background in what works and what sells food-wise because that's all I've done. So I think it's really finding your passion because it is so fun to wake up every day and be like, I really love this job. I'm happy to go to work. And I can't imagine not doing that, right?
Yeah.
But I think, too, from when you don't really know, it's ask a lot of questions, right? Find people who are in the field, talk to them, and also get your internships. If you can have multiple internships, I think here, mine was more on the account side going into it, but marketing has so many different departments that having exposure to that can help you when you're younger in your college years.
Well, it was a small enough place, still is, when you were here, that you could easily get a window into media, get a window into all these different facets so you could get a sense, is that something I want to do?
Right.
No, I think it really does come down to what you just said and surrounding yourself with smart people. Never being the smartest person in the room. And that's real easy for me to do. I don't know about you, but that comes to me naturally. So, and being sort of a sponge because there is so much to learn.
I think there is. And I think one of the things that me being remote for so many years that I look back on, I didn't really keep up with a lot of what was going on in the city and keeping my networks going. So I think that's very important. I think I was just on the road so much and a mom of 2 babies back to back, right? That it was I'm just focusing on my career and managing my home life. But I think it's just really figuring out what's your passion.
Yeah, well, and it's okay if some of that stuff sort of waxes and wanes over time. Because, you've got a career, you've got kids, you're trying to do all this other stuff. Something's got to give occasionally, and it's okay to say, for this period, I'm going to put my kids first.
I did.
And the networking is going to suffer as a result.
Yes.
And that's okay.
But I think, too, the more people can do that, and it was really nice to know that, I had built these great relationships so that when I was kind of thinking, what is my next job, that I was able to reconnect with some folks. I just think that's important as well because really when I was looking for my job, I reached out to Dave Ponce, my current boss at Wings, and Doug from HR and was like, hey, here's my situation.
Did you know them prior to reaching out?
I didn't know them. But I think that's really just me and my personality of okay, I'm putting myself out there. This is what I've got and can bring to the table. No, I'm not shy. I know, it's so funny. I'm still and that's why I was I love working with franchisees and people. I'm still the person on the plane that likes to talk to my neighbor and talks to people in the, the grocery and on an elevator. And I think that that's unique.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And even as time goes on, I think more people are I'll put my AirPods in. I don't want to talk to anybody. But if you sit next to me, I'm happy to chat, right? So So
talk to people. It can help. All right, second quick hit question. You may have already answered this, but what is a myth or misconception about the work you do or the business you work for that you want to clear up? Either something that's not appreciated enough or something that's wrong that you want to clear up.
I think we talked a little bit about the fact that I don't think people realize we're as big as brand as we are. So I think that's one misconception. And then just like the wings, go in and try them. They are fantastic.
100%.
And we have a new Nashville hot chicken sandwich that I am in love with.
All
we entered the chicken sandwich wars.
There's even good stuff off the wings menu.
Yes.
I've had really good sandwiches there. So
Yeah.
when I'm trying to be healthy, and I think I'm being healthy,
you get a
probably
wrap.
not being healthy, I get a wrap.
Yeah.
Which is,
You get a grilled chicken wrap. That's what I do.
There we go.
You know?
So it's pretty good. Yeah. All right. But the wings are really good. You're right. Okay. What is I'm gonna throw you a curveball in a minute and ask you a question that you're not prepared for, but it's an easy one. But the question that you should be prepared for, a tip, a trick, a hack, an app, something you use in your work that helps you get the job done that is maybe not appreciated enough, something you think that people should know about. And it can be something super simple.
So something we use at Wings Etc. is Monday.com. So it's like a project management software platform that really helps us with having so many different assets. We have so many menus, right? And so different franchisees might have like a variance product item, right?
Yeah.
So we use that tool to plan out everything we're doing, whether it's a menu, whether it's a grand opening that has, 10 different advertising pieces underneath it, whether it's a co-op needing new TV spots. So that really helps us to keep on track as far as what is due and when. It sends reminders. You can link right to certain, documents or assets through the platform. So that helps us a ton.
So are you using Monday.com for project management and asset management, or just project management? In other words, like all the photos, all the other stuff. Where does that live? Because my head's spinning when I think of all the assets.
There are tons of assets.
So how are you doing that?
So that goes just into Dropbox. So our graphic design team has like a very structured formula.
So they're organized.
Naming convention for everything that we have, so that we know right where to look for it.
So one of your hacks is the same as mine. Work with people who are super organized and then ask them to find the asset, because they can get to it faster than you can. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have Kyler on my team who's fantastic for that. He is brilliant to begin with, but I feel like I'm a very organized person, and he is like the most organized person that I know, and he kind of manages that.
Yeah.
Overall for us.
Well, and during the course of, I'm older than you, but during the course of our careers, that's become so much more important, because it used to be you would do photo shoots rarely, and you would have these assets that you would repurpose for everything.
Right.
And now it's like, you're creating new content for, what was it? National Vodka Day or something the other day, with a chicken running around singing a song.
Day.
So something you might only use once ever, and you need 365 of those. So it's really that asset management piece. If for those of you who are thinking of going into marketing, being organized is super important, or knowing people who are.
Yes. You spoke of Angry Chicken, who is our...
Angry Chicken. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, he does. He's flying a plane. He should be happy.
He is so happy.
License. Yeah. But he's angry.
Yes.
Okay. Why is he angry?
That's a great question.
All right. Well, we'll save that one for next time. But I do have one more question.
Yeah.
This is the curveball. What is your favorite wing sauce?
My favorite wing sauce? So my wing order is the traditional like bone-in wings. I get all flats.
Okay.
And then I get a side of...
Not the ones with the big...
No, I don't like the drums.
Really? I love the drums.
I know. I feel like you're team drums or team flats. That was actually
drums,
like one of our poll questions on Facebook the other week. But and then I get a side of the mild sauce and a side of ranch, and I take my knife and I like spread it on my wing, and then I eat it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So on the side. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to. I like just a little bit of spice.
Yeah.
Not too much.
All right. I like the medium one and garlicky parm.
Oh, okay.
Those are my Boston accent just came out. Parm. Garlicky parm. Those two, perfect. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So if you've never been to Wings, try one of these orders. It's really good.
Yes.
But go with the drums. None of this flat stuff. Go with the drums. Those are way better.
Team flats.
Well, Katie, thank you so much. This has been super fun.
Yes.
It's been great seeing you in the building after 15 years.
Yes, it's great to be back.
Now you can run off and go watch some football.
Yes. Go St. Vincent's.
Go St. Vincent's. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Thanks for doing it. And thanks, everyone who took the opportunity to listen to this episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then.